Forging a Billy Joe scraper from a salvaged garden hoe. William Hovey Smith, 2016. I'm the author of Backyard Deer Hunting and also the owner of a new company, Hovey's Knives of China. We also have a line of Billy Joe Rubido knives, which are custom-made knives from salvaged materials. And here is one that we actually make from an old, very much rusted garden hoe.
This is Hovey Smith, the Backyard Sportsman. It is December the 13th, and we've just had a visit from a media person in the way of Cassandra Ortiz from WMAZ-TV in Macon, Georgia. And we got partway through a knife making process. This is another one of my Billy Joe Rubido knives. What I'm making this knife from is a hoe. And this was a very much rusted piece of material given to me by Billy Krantz. And what I'm going to do with it is make a scrape knife. Now this knife is used on a flat grill, like at the Waffle House. And the blade of the hoe does very, very well for a flat piece with a handle on top, with a grip on top. Cassandra had to leave before we had the knife made. So we showed her quickly through the process with parts of other knives. But I've still got it cooking over here. So we're going to take it out and work with it some more, and we'll show you that. Because they really didn't get to see it on TV. By the time we got around to it, it had already cooled too much. It should be back up to temperature. That is pretty well welded in there, guys. Don't know that I'm doing too much good. I'm going to give it one more try. This time we're going to try to cut it out with a cold chisel. Let's see if that will work better. Aha! Success! So the offending part has been removed. Now let's see if we can straighten it a little bit. Okay, that is much cold working as hot. Reasonably straight. We're going to put this in the ash and just let it cool slowly. It's now time for the angle grinder to do its work. I've already got the block that I'm going to use for the grips here and inlet the handle, but I need to make some cuts here, there, and there. Then I'll drill and pin, and now some sparks are going to fly. . Okay. We just about got it done with the angle grinder. I need to dress this off even here at the top and even up this line with this one. So we're getting there. Now this is going into the grinding cabinet to dress up these surfaces, to take these sharp ridges off, and also just to true up the edges some. The angle grinder works fast but relatively crudely, so we want to dress this up a little bit. We'll also go and do our first little thing here on the edge itself. The way this steel sparks tells me it's a high carbon steel, and the way it's acting on the grinder tells me that it's pretty soft right now, which is excellent because I need, of course, to drill the holes here for the pins. And for this particular knife, you don't want a hard blade, surprisingly enough, because you're going to be scraping it across a mild steel surface, and you don't want it to scratch that surface. You want it just glide along. So this blade, unlike almost every other knife in the world, is not going to be hardened to a hard blade. We're ready to glue up now. And what I'm going to do is use this intermediate cure super glue, which has 1 to 15 seconds curing time. And put this small wedge in this hole here in the middle. So we will let that comfortably set and then proceed to install the pins. In drilling the holes for these pins, I've got to make sure that I actually catch enough metal to hold in about the center here, which I think I've got, plus leave enough wood on both sides that this work is strongly supported. This is intrinsically weak wood, and it would be very easy to splinter it out, which we don't want to do. Also make sure we have enough travel here to get through, and we actually don't, so I'm going to have to move it up some. Okay, it is finally hitting the metal now. Drilling pretty easy, but you don't want to press it. The steel is soft, which is just as I thought it would be. Even more cautious now because I don't want to break out on the other side. It's starting to come through. That one got done. second hole. Yeah, all the way down. We've now successfully set the pins on by pounding them on the anvil, both with glue as well as mechanically. This soft steel used in nails does expand a little bit, but you could use many other materials, aluminum, brass, etc., etc., even silver, but that's of course awfully expensive. We're back to the cabinet grinder again. What I'm going to do here is to take off these protruding edges to keep them from ripping up the belts on my sanding machine, and also start shaping the wood more to contour, round off some of these corners. And I'm going to be generating a lot of dust, and that's the reason I'm doing it in the cabinet here. And I'm also going to turn on my vacuum cleaner, which will generate a lot of noise. So we're going to proceed to do those things. This is about as far as I care to take it on the grinder. What I do is grind it to the point where I start grinding the metal and the wood together and shaping the general contours of the grip. If I have some strong edges to take off, I do that. As I have here, I've started rounding here at the top, and you get a general feel for the blade and for the knife now. You can also notice at this stage any minor things that need correcting. It looks like I'm going to need some filler here. I'm going to need some filler around these edges here because this piece of metal is not altogether straight. I also have a slight bend right here in the blade, which I can take out and will. And I also need to actually make the blade contact level. It's not quite. There's a little rock in it in the middle, so I need to grind that out and make it absolutely uniform across the surface. We have employed our straightening blocks here and bent this beyond the point of elastic return. So now the blade is flat. We're getting very close to the end stages, and I put a medium grit belt on the sander. And we're going to start with it and do our final shaping, and then do a little finishing with the fine belt, and then actually put a finish on the grip. And I'm also going to address the final contour of this edge here and get it straight and a little bit actually rounded, because since this is basically a scraper and mover, you don't want it to scratch the softer steel of your cooking surface, but you want to have a good scrape all the way across and level. So this blade will actually have a rounded contour on the bottom rather than being down to a sharp point. With this soft wood, it works up very, very fast. You have to be really cautious about what you're doing. We now have the grip shaped. It is non-uniform and asymmetric, thicker on one side than the other, and purposefully so. I make grips to fit the hand, not to be symmetrical, not to necessarily look pretty, not to look uniform, but to fit the hand. Hands are not uniform and they are not symmetric, nor should knife grips be necessarily so. So this is designed to fit my hand, very, very well. So I have a medium-sized hand. Anyone similarly situated should find this quite comfortable. The thumb here has a nice grasp. These fingers have a nice hold. This has a nice hold. So you have control over the knife without knobs and two sharp edges, although I might relieve that one a little bit. That one's a little sharp, but that's no big deal. So far as the edge is concerned, I also address that with this belt. So now this edge is absolutely flat. So I have a planar surface and I've tested it, and yeah, there's no rocking back and forth as there was before. This edge, as I mentioned, is going to be rounded rather than being a sharp edge. The reason you don't want to scratch your cooking surface. So we change belts and we take a little finer grit, and then we start hand polishing. We're going to take some of our super glue and wood dust to mix here and make a paste and fill some of these holes that we've got, like around the pins and elsewhere. I do use polyurethane on this as a final finish, and that seals all these wormholes and also helps fill them. But the wormholes are what gives this wood such a distinctive character, as well as the spalting. And put it back on the sander. Now that we have filled all these pores with glue and wood dust and taken it back down smooth again, and now we're ready for hand sanding, and then we'll be ready to put on the final finish of polyurethane. Although doing it with power tools is fine, it's actually with the hand sanding that the grip starts to actually feel alive in the hand. Now we're ready to give our grip its polyurethane dip. Now you want to do this while your hands are still covered with wood dust so you don't get any oil on the grip itself. And this polyurethane will help seal these wormholes and also cement and consolidate this worm dust that's in some of these cavities. Uh-oh. Got a problem. All right. And we go to plan B. Now that I've got one coat on completely, I'm going to put on another coat starting from the top and working down to let all the liquid seep into these pores and cavities as will. Capillary action will draw some of it in. And the end result is going to make a very unusual looking and functional knife grip.
Among our other Billy Joe Rubidoux knives are this paring knife, a bread knife, And the top tool here is a rib flipper for the grill, and also a forge cleaning tool for removing ash from a rounded forge. Among my books are backyard deer hunting, extreme muzzleloading, crossbow hunting, and practical bow fishing, and all of these have chapters about knives and how to use them. Now, as with everything having to do with these custom knives made from salvaged materials, the unexpected sometimes happen and you have to adapt. For more information on Hovey's Knives of China, you can go to the website below. For more information on my books, blogs, and more than 575 videos, you can go to www.hoveysmith.com. Good hunting and good eating from the outdoors. Goodbye, and God bless.